Alrighty, welcome back to the Final Fantasy VII NES Demake. It's so great to have everyone back. It's great to be back and healthy and not sick anymore. I'm still a little sick. Still coughing a little bit, but all is well. I'm feeling much, much better, and it's so great to be back. We were good last week too, but I was still getting over it. Now we're a lot better. So, I'm trying to remember what happened last week. We got to the Great Glacier, but then we died a horrible death somewhere. I don't remember where. I don't want to save while I'm down here, because there's a chance I get stuck. So I kind of want to try to do this in one go. But that might be hard. The Great Glacier. Until I get to like a rest point or a save point, I don't want to save. One of the big problems is that the enemies are so fast. Yeah, I do not want to save right before like a unwinnable fight. That'd be bad. Man. These enemies are not dying. I feel like once again I'm a bit under-leveled. Seems like everywhere I go, the level increases quite a bit. And I'm not really leveling up enough to stay where I need to be. Yeah, if only there were multiple save files. I didn't say anything about it before, but I love the top of the screen there, the blue lines. It's like trying to simulate a sky, but in like a kind of abstract way. I like it. Sky, but in a black void. The aspect is kind of weird. It's gonna take me a while to figure out how to get out of here. And there's a lot of fights. Could you imagine if they made the whole black void grass? Like if they made the whole thing green? Oh my god. That'd be so ugly. I'm gonna run out of heals real fast. Yeah, I'm wondering what Schizo's gonna be like. In these NES games, they set the whole background black so it shows through transparent parts of the sprites. This way they could save on the palette usage and get a free extra color. Huh. That's really interesting. Makes sense. I mean, you have such a limited, like, palette that if the whole background was green, every enemy would have to be like on the whole other side of the color spectrum or else they would look awful. Like that bird would look awful if the background was green. You wouldn't be able to even... Probably wouldn't even be able to tell it's a bird. I know I said that bird, and they're both birds. I was talking about the needle, but it probably is the same case for the other one. Oh, I forgot. Can't hit the needle. Can't hit the needle with physical attacks. I'm sitting here whiffing and not even noticing. Water 4. What? Bird. Please. Die. I'm begging you. Yes, bird. I guess he's immune to water, too. That's a bit unfortunate. Some strong McNuggets. Please die. Oh my god. Is this a boss fight? Sure feels like it. Yo, lucky sevens. Not really, but kinda. Dude, I have done so much damage. Please die. We just out here chilling with some birds. There we go. Finally, holy. Okay, well, that was fun. Up or down? Oh god, this just looks like an insane maze. How's it going, Phil? These are some good bloops and bleeps. We're doing okay damage, but everything's starting to have way too much health. Definitely feeling like we're underleveled. Yeah, I want to master all the materia to see what all the summons are. But I have to imagine that some of them are pretty obvious. Water is probably Leviathan, fire is probably Ifrit, ice is probably Shiva. Holy being Bahamut, though, is interesting. And they could always throw a loop in. Make fire like Hades or something. Oh my god, dude. This is looking like just as confusing as the original. I think I'm back where I started. Not only is this the hardest dungeon we've been in so far, but it's also the most confusing. This is gonna be scary. Good thing they all fought Sid. Well, obviously the snow boss isn't going to give us Alexander or anything, but they could have made Snow a mandatory fight, just so that she's included. My guess is no, though. Snow's not even really a boss. I always called Snow a boss, but technically, it's not really. I've been very impressed with the difficulty. It is believable that this is an NES game. Which it is, but you know what I mean? It fits with other NES games in terms of difficulty. Do you think Snow was, like, named because of the enemy in Final Fantasy VII? Or it was just a coincidence? And the person that made that character didn't even think of that? I feel like Snow is such a stupid name that they had to have gotten it from somewhere. So I always kind of dislike that name. I think Snow was named hundreds of years ago. There. This is the same screen. Like... Oh no. This is just the same screen over and over. How do we get out? Do I just have to exit enough times? Or... is there a gimmick? Do I eventually, like, faint? I'm getting worried. That's what I was about to say. I wonder if you can actually select the map, and maybe there's a gimmick. That would be cool if there was. Whoa, I got Cure 3 on my water. One more level and we'll get a summon, probably Leviathan. Wait, did that do the water effect, but it healed? That's cool. It's like a healing water. It's an infinite elixir glitch. Man, that'd be great if it did. Aw, he crit. Cloud. Please. Damage. Please. Good thing I bought a ton of phoenixes. We're gonna need them. Okay. Is there like a map? Map. Select map. Not seeing a map. Yeah, Eris is fine. She's taking a break. Well. Weird enemy setup for the Great Glacier, but... Okay. That's fine. That's just great. Good thing I have Cure 3. Okay. Well. There goes this run. Alright. Let's see if I have anything to say about the map. It's almost finished. Goodbye. My husband left 20 years ago and still hasn't come back. It's marked with a check on the map, but we can't see the map. Never should have bought him that snowboard. Alright, well, let's do some grinding so we can hopefully survive a bit better. This is a great place to grind. Have a nice cheap inn. We can just spam all of our stuff. That part of the song always gets me. It's kind of eerie how the new threat mod predicted some of the things that came about in the remake. Yeah, I mean, he just did such a great job, like, implementing exactly what Final Fantasy VII needed. While still feeling he said that, like, the goal behind the mod was to still feel like Final Fantasy VII. He didn't want to make it feel like a different game, but... change it in a way that, like, bettered everything. Wonder if Square Enix ever played New Threat? Probably not. They just heard about it and they were like, "You made this? I made this." Hey, how's it going, Giggles? How's it going, Craggle? I made this smiley face. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I said in that playthrough also kind of came true in the remake. Oh, somebody asked like a million years ago where I thought remake part 2 would end, and I forgot to answer it because something else came up. I think that I want part 2 to end in City. And I think it would work best there. But depending on what they want to do with it and how they want to expand it and stuff, it might end somewhere else. But I think the best option would be to end in City. Is there a reason that these razor weeds have like 7 million health? Everyone's tanning on the beach and the game just ends. I'm really, like... I'm very, very curious about how part 2 is gonna go. It just feels like it's gonna be so different from part 1, which is probably a good thing. Welcome back, Oops. Nice, you got Cure 3 again. Oh, I should have leveled up Bahamut. Yeah, it's just gonna be so weird, like... Even if the combat and the mechanics and everything was just literally the same, and it was just, here's part 1 again, outside Midgar, it would still be so different because we're not going back and forth in Midgar. We're most likely doing, like, a very fast kind of plow through each area after Midgar. Like, basically one chapter of part 1 is going to be one area in part 2. So you have Junon. Now, see, like, Junon is the one outlier, because Junon might be bigger, but, you know, Junon will be chapter 1, and... Calm will be chapter 1, and Junon will be chapter 2, and Mines will be... or Cavern will be chapter 3, and, like... There's a good chance that that's basically just what it is. It's just every chapter is the next stop on their journey. But... I feel like... I kind of wish it was a bit more complicated than that. I kind of hope there's more to it than that. The best case scenario, which probably will not happen, but the best case scenario is they drop the chapter formula, which, don't get me wrong, I like the chapter formula, but It made sense for Midgar. I don't think it makes as much sense for the rest of the game. So best case scenario, they drop the chapter scenario, and they just have an open world, and you just walk to the next place, and the open world is something similar to like 15 or something, where you're like just in a big world traveling and just walk to each place. And then eventually you get the buggy, and then you can move a bit faster on the map. And they just do it like that. This is a good fight for leveling up. That is probably best case scenario to me. I don't know. That would make the most sense for part 3 too, because we have to revisit a lot of areas later. Yeah, development, I feel like it's going to be so different for part 2. You know, part 1, not that they really reused a lot of assets. I think that all the areas in Midgar, they actually did a pretty good job making them look unique. But it's much easier to design Sector 7 and Sector 8 and Sector 5. That's much easier than Gold Saucer, Cosmo Canyon, Junon all in the same game, you know what I mean? Like, those are completely different areas. Yeah, you're right. Yuffie's immune to Holy, I just noticed that too. That's alright. If I had remembered to level up Bahamut, he still would have leveled up, but I forgot to, so. Oh well. Why don't you want to buy a PS5? Just curious. Money? Or you don't want to invest the time necessary to get one? Or both? Both are very valid. Yeah. I think that, and I know this is coming from me, who currently owns one, and plays video games for a living, so it doesn't affect me monetarily as much to purchase games. But I think the price for what it is pretty good. I'm basing that on, like, how much the PS4 costs, how much consoles have cost in the past, like, how much a Super Nintendo cost and stuff. I think it's a pretty good value. Like, if you just look one generation back, how much was the Xbox One? Wasn't it, like, pretty similar or same price? Yeah, you know, we don't talk about the PS3. Definitely a better value than the PS3. So, like, just from a, you know, literal cost to console, I think it's pretty good. Now, having said that, no one has a lot of money right now. You know, pandemic hit, people are hurting. It's not the best time to blow $500 on a gaming console, so that hurts it a lot. It's not just, you can't just take the PS5 versus the PS4 and be like, well, technically it's worth it, because the state of the world when it comes out is a big deal, you know? Just like how the Xbox One objectively wasn't that bad of a deal, but it was going up against the PS4, and against the PS4 it was a horrible deal. So, you know, you have to keep in mind, like, what's going on around it as well. And, yeah, like, although the PS5 objectively is worth the money, like, for what it is, the effort and stuff you have to, that goes into even getting one is That's when it starts feeling not as worth it. Yo, you're a 10. Thank you so much for the 18 months. Now, the one saving grace about the PS5 is that you can trade in your PS4 to help with the cost, because you legitimately do not need a PS4 if you own a PS5. They have, surprisingly, because usually Sony doesn't do that, but surprisingly, they've created a console that completely obsoletes the PS4. So you do not need to own a PS4. It does everything the PS4 does. There's a list of like 7 games that don't work on the PS5 because they have special peripherals. So unless you play one of those 7 games, there's no need to own a PS4, which is very nice. It was not the same for PS4. If you owned a PS3, it felt bad to have to trade in your PS3 for a PS4 because you were missing out on PS3 games and PS1 games. So it felt like a unfair trade, but here you could totally trade in your PS4. So you don't need it. So that helps. My PS4 is a table. My PS4 is, well, I have 2 PS4s because I got a Pro later. I had a PS4 and then I bought a PS4 Pro. But if I didn't have my old PS4, my PS4 would currently be a DVD player. Because my old PS4 is a DVD player in our living room. So, if I didn't have that one, my God of War PS4 Pro would be sitting upstairs as a DVD player. You can Google it, Darth. It's like 9 games you've probably never heard of. They're like really weird peripheral games. You need like specific controllers. I think, well, I think one actually... No. Because the PlayStation Move works on it, so I think all the like dance games work. If they don't, there's a new dance game coming out for PS5 anyways. Fight that Caesar. I played Stepmania on keyboard for a while, but that's because I was used to FFR, so it didn't feel weird to me. Most people would rather play Stepmania on a pad. Getting a pad to work with PC is, at least in my experience, really annoying. Surprised Flood 2 isn't leveled up yet. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that PlayStation Now actually exists and hasn't just been cancelled. Because people are still interested in PS3 games. PS3 has an amazing library. You have to remember, like, PS3 was a very long... That generation was very long. So there's a lot of good stuff. Many series that are worth anything on PS4 started on PS3 also, so. And yeah, like, honestly, PS3s are an incredible deal now. If you go buy like a PS3 Slim, I think the Slims still play PS1 games, right? Mine plays PS1 games, and it's one of the smaller models. I think the Super Slim doesn't. The one with like the moving door, I don't think that one plays PS1 games, but the regular Slim does. If you go buy a PS3 Slim, you can get them for like, I don't know, 200 bucks maybe? 150? 200 bucks? And it plays the whole PS3 library and can play any PS1 game and has a digital store with a ton of PS1 games and a ton of PS3 games. And most PS3 games are like 10 bucks now. So like, you could give a PS3 to a family that doesn't have a modern gaming console, and they have an incredible library to work with. Incredibly cheap library to work with. So that's pretty cool. It's cool that the PS3 isn't just completely obsolete. It never will be, because PS3 games are so difficult to emulate that it'll probably always be useful. Unless they make PS Now not garbage one day, but they won't. How's it going, OMG? I say this a lot, but the PS3 store, people slept on the PS1 ports on the PlayStation Store. They are amazing. They have almost every good RPG you can think of is on the PlayStation Store. All the Final Fantasies, Chrono Trigger, although it's the PS1 version, which is the worst version, but Chrono Trigger, Legend of Dragoon, Chrono Cross, I think, Wild Arms, Beyond the Beyond, Xenogears is on there, believe it or not. All the Siphon Filters. I mean, honestly, like, name a good PlayStation game, it's on there. All the Spyros, all the Crash games. Yeah, like, they kind of just quietly continued to release amazing PS1 games on the store. And they never really said anything about it, but they just slowly just pumped out like a bajillion PS ports. And it's so sad that like they don't continue doing that. Like, I've been saying for years they need to do that with PS2 ports. They started on the PS4 and then quit. They put like frickin' Ark the Lad and Destroy All Humans, and then they quit. There's like so many great, you could put so many you could just every month just pour a bunch of PS2 ports onto the PS4 store and people would eat it up. But I think the first wave that they did, no one bought because all the games were trash. And then they were like, oh, people don't like these. But it wasn't the fault of the console, it was the games you put on weren't great. And those games are still playable on PS5. So if they had invested in a big PS2 library on the PS4, it would now still be continuing on the PS5. And people could buy a bunch of great PS2 ports on the PS5. But they didn't, they stopped. It sucks. I think part of it also is that remakes and remasters got so popular that they were like, why port it when we can just make more money on a remake? But I don't know. All the Crash and all the Spyro games are all on PS3, and I bought all of them, and then the remakes came out, and I bought those too, because, believe it or not, I enjoy them, and I like playing them. Why wouldn't I buy them? They're like 10 bucks or something. They're so cheap. I mean, I am... Where? I need my... Hold on. I need a prop for this joke. Alright. I am a retro gamer. But having said that, I still enjoy buying the PS1 ports, like, on PS3, just so they're available to me and, like, easy to play. Just because I can play Crash on PS1. If there's a sweet deal on all the Crash games on PS3, like, still enjoyable to play. And what's great about the PS3, too, is I don't have to worry about freaking memory cards. Just have all my saves there digitally. I don't have to keep swapping memory cards and stuff.
Rides the shoe puff? All aboard?
Like, I think they underestimate how good that prepares people for remakes too. Like, whenever something like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy is announced, everyone goes back and plays the originals. You know, it's all over Twitch and all over YouTube. Everyone's doing their Crash-a-thons. What losers, am I right? Who would do that? But everyone's doing, like, you know, playing the originals. So if you have them available on the PS3 for download or on the PS4 for download, and then you announce the new ones, everyone's going to jump on and buy them. No one wants, like, except people like me that already own a PS1, no one wants to go buy a PS1 just so they can play Crash 1. But if it's available to them on PS4, heck yeah, they'll buy it. So, I just wish they understood that more. But we're living in a world where the CEO of Sony literally said, "Why do people play old games?" So this is the company that we're asking to understand retro games. It's just not going to happen. Yes, unfortunately, he literally said that in an interview. It's saddening. And, like, just because he said that doesn't literally mean, like, he's... Like, I'm not saying that just automatically ruins everything ever, but it's just such a great insight as to, like, how everyone sees that kind of thing nowadays. It's like there's no passion for the past. They're only bringing it back because it makes money. We had a great conversation. I don't remember if it was during the Demake last week or not, so sorry if this is like repeating something you've already heard. But we had a great conversation. Oh, you know what? I don't think we did talk about this because I think it was something my wife and I talked about. I think we were discussing it together. But anyways, we were talking about how back in the day, gaming was not super popular. It wasn't super relevant. It was, you know, it was a niche, right? So, in order to become a game developer, you had to have this love for gaming that transpired or went past money, because the gaming industry was not lucrative. You know, you had to get into it because you liked it. It's kind of like the same thing with like YouTube or Twitch, where like back before all of us were making money off of YouTube videos. You had to do it specifically because you loved it, because there was no money in it. So why would you do it for it? No one was doing YouTube for money because there was no money. So if you did a YouTube video, it's because you wanted to do a YouTube video. It was the same way in the gaming industry. People made games because they wanted to make games. It had nothing to do with money. They could easily go be a computer programmer and make way more money. It was the love of video games that caused them to be like, okay, I'm going to start a studio and make games. And so those games back then, it's not that game designers were just better back then or more passionate back then, or like, you know, it's not that developers just don't care about their games anymore, but it's that all of it revolves around money now, because the money is there. That, like, they can legitimately see if we do this in the game, it makes more money. And that was just never a thing back then. Back then it was only about making a good game and for the love of the craft, because that's all I mean, why else would you do it, right? So it's changed so much in that now it's, at least from like a CEO perspective, not, you know, it's not like developers choose to be a game designer for the money. Most developers choose to be a game designer because they want to design games. You know, you could make the same amount of money doing anything else. But at least from a CEO perspective, you know, CEOs get into the game or buy companies or whatever because it's lucrative. Not because they love video games, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it's a lucrative business now, and that's changed everything. And I see, like, comments saying, like, oh, programmers aren't even passionate anymore, they don't like games. Like, of course they do. They went to college and learned how to program games, and now they program games. They don't, like I said, it's not really any more lucrative than being a software developer for them. But the big CEOs and shareholders and all of them, it's all a lucrative business now, and it's all about shoveling out as much money as possible, and that's where the issue is. So it sucks to see, like, when there's this big outrage about programmers and how they don't care about games anymore, because that's just not true. But from the top down, it's gotten to the point where gaming is a lucrative business now. It's not for the love of the craft anymore, from a general aspect. There was that whole, like, EA thing interview where the guy was like, legitimately everything we do is specifically to make the most money possible. And that's not, I mean, it's not surprising. You're a business, that's what you do. But again, like, it's such a shift from back in the day. Nowadays, it's everything that goes into a game is to make the most money possible, just like any other business. If you're in business making blankets, you're going to try to make the most profitable blankets. That's just the way it goes. It's not, you know, if you can make a blanket that means more to you, but it costs double the price to create, you're not going to do that. You're not going to destroy your business because you like that blanket. Or maybe you would, I don't know. But I would have to imagine most people are just trying to make as much money off their blanket business. And it's the same way with gaming. Like, it's just they have to make the most money as possible to be a good business. But there was a time when the money wasn't there anyways. So it's just about making a beautiful product that you loved. And hoping the money would appear. You see, I see a lot of, if you watch, like, any old behind the scenes, like behind the scenes of the first Crash game, or first Spyro game, or behind the scenes of, like, all the old games, something that they almost always say is, we didn't know it was going to be a hit. You ever notice that? Like, almost always, someone is like, we had no idea it was going to be this big. And that kind of goes to show you, like, the mindset back then. Nowadays, you hear the opposite. It's like, oh, we knew it was going to be. Like, we knew. We got into it knowing it was going to be big. But that's the reason we started this project, is because we knew it was going to be big. The project doesn't even get off the ground until the research has already been done that it's definitely going to be profitable. Right? So that's the difference. They didn't have the ability back then to be like, oh, people really love purple dragons. If we make a purple dragon game, it'll sell well. Instead, the purple dragon was just an idea someone came up with, you know? But nowadays, it's like, okay, we can do a poll and see how many people are currently playing Spyro games. Is it worth doing a remake? How many people are playing Metal Gear Solid? Should we make a Metal Gear Solid sequel? Like, how did the last one sell? You know, what genre of game is selling really well right now? Oh, roguelikes? Okay, let's make a roguelike with our current IP, you know? Oh, battle royales are super popular? Let's make a Final Fantasy VII battle royale. Like, it's all about, like, the research and knowing the market and stuff. But back then, there was no market. It was whatever you think is good. And, you know, perhaps that's a bit of an exaggeration. Like, they did do some research, but you understand my point. I think games nowadays are made almost entirely from the research. You know? Whatever they research is going to be the best move for the business is what happens. There's no question about it. Yo, Lord Leto, thank you so much for the 28 months. Should have been a Dirge of Cerberus remake. Dude, could you imagine a Dirge of Cerberus remake? Yeah, you gotta give people like Kojima so much credit because he still lives in that past world where it's all about succeeding in his own vision. You know what I mean? It's almost like he does the research as to what would be successful and then legitimately does the opposite. You know, it's all about his own vision and reaching his own vision. And that's really commendable. Kojima lives in this world where he's like... What's that quote? I heard a quote the other day. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was to the key of like... People don't know what they want because I haven't showed them yet. You know what I mean? Like, instead of looking at the research and being like, this is what people want, Kojima is like, they haven't seen what they want yet. I have to create what they want. And that's a really cool mindset to have. It's a very dangerous mindset to have. Because it can go horribly wrong, but it's definitely a different way of thinking. I need to attack like one more time with Sid. Yeah, I mean, there's countless examples of that. I mean, there is no research that tells you Last of Us is going to be a hit. It's all within one person's mind to create that. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, because zombies were kind of all the rage when Last of Us came out, but... you know what I mean. Yo, Fat Steve, leave 148. Nothing matters anymore. Just do what you like. True. Yeah, I mean, the best example is indie games, but that's the thing with indie games. Not only do they have to be unique, because otherwise they're gonna flop, but so many amazing creative people are behind indie games, and they're not held back by research or CEOs telling them what to do, or shareholders telling them what to do. It's all them in the game, so they can actually embrace the creative process. But not only that, they need to be unique to stand out, because it's not the next Activision game. The next Activision game, as we can see by Vanguard, doesn't need to be anything more than the next Call of Duty, because people already know Call of Duty and they want to purchase Call of Duty. But no one knows what Celeste is. When Celeste comes out, no one knows what it is. You have to grab them. You have to tell them, this is what it is, play it. So it needs to be this unique experience. And that's why so many indie games are like out there and unique and different. It's not because... I think some people get the wrong impression and think like AAA developers have no imagination, no creativity. A AAA company could have never made Undertale. They don't possess the creative ability to do it. Of course they do. They just have no creative process at Activision. You know, it's create the next money game. It has nothing, you know. They have ability to be creative in certain aspects, but it's mostly strangled. So, and of course it's a risk, and of course many other things, but, you know, for the creator of Undertale, it's not a risk. It's the best decision he can make, is to make it so unique that people stop playing Call of Duty and try it, you know. For them, it's not a risk. It's actually the right call, is to make your game really stand out.